Hello, welcome back, sissies, gays, and theys. I am Donovan, the Stuttering Sissy. Welcome back to another episode. Before we begin, make sure to hit that like button, share, and subscribe. I really want to build a community here, and a part of that is talking about culture. And I've been seeing online discourse this week around queer men excelling in academic performance and in the workspace, particularly black queer men, which I will get into like the specifics of that. But I wanted to give some context to this online discourse. This discourse actually started a few years ago, around 2022, when a researcher named Joel Middleton published a research paper that found that while straight men face educational crisis, gay men excel academically. And his study also found that lesbians perform more poorly than straight women based off of a number of academic factors, and this is published in the American Sociological Review. And I read this, and I was like, "Oh, this is very interesting to me," and also I'm not surprised. And so I think I can really only speak from my own experience, but for me, I was someone that grew up in an educational uh, household in terms of like education was a top value in my home. Reading was fundamental, was necessary. Like I grew, I grew up reading, and it's just something that I definitely feel is like a part of me still. And I think growing up as a queer person, sports weren't necessarily my thing, although I did play a sport for like a few years up until high school. But I realized like education, my academics were in some ways a barrier, a safe space for me from bullying in school. It also gave me an opportunity to leave where I was from. And so I think for a lot of gay men, for queer people, we know that education is an opportunity. It's a way for us to escape from homophobia, from transphobia, from a lot of the isms that surround us, particularly when we don't necessarily have a choice of where we are in our like young formative years. And so I wanted to read a couple tweets that I found. Uh, and one of them said that increased marginalization motivates us black gay men to outperform and overachieve academically because we know that's our easiest and a lot of times only ticket to get out and away from the community that's not supportive and actively harming us. We're not overperforming because we have more support or access to resources. We overperform because we have to as an act of self preservation. And, from my experience, I can definitely attest to what this person is saying. There's a lot of queer people that do not have resources or access to necessarily um, leave their hometown right away, or do these things that is oddly the opposite of what's depicted in a lot of films. Um, but a lot of folks know that education's a way not only out but forward for our lives. And another tweet that I really liked said, "No shocker if queer men perform better academically than straight men." As I said, refusing to deal with coming of age masculinity misses one crucial social variable impacting boys and men's educational disparities. Literacy and ideal student conduct becomes feminized and sissified as girls and women obtain more education. Bershan Young racializes idea this in his study on black masculinity and literacy. The sociolinguistics of black masculine and racial performance. Marlon Ross also insurgencies on good sissy conduct. No matter the boy's racial position, avoiding this allows people to hallucinate about testosterone, or how boys learn differently, instead of confronting and disrupting the gendered social scripts and codes that mediate these outcomes. Once we see gay boys are excelling, these myths expire, and we're tasked with actually being responsible and thoughtful toward and about young boys navigating the educational space. And that's what people don't want to do, because the bioessentialism is more comfy and requires less work. So, if I'm understanding correctly from this person's post, like with this study telling us that gay men, really outperform and outpace and outperform outperform and outpace a lot of these heterosexual men. It really, you know, disrupts the narrative that, all boys are suffering right now in terms of this ed- education and literacy gap. And I think to their point, it is easy to just ignore this, because then it displaces the responsibility on men to actually show up in a new way and to reorient and organize themselves in a way that honestly is going to be uncomfortable, because it means that they need to change the script that's been written um, for all these years, and particularly right now in the climate that we're in. Of course it's not going to change. It's easier for us to just say, oh well, with women working and out earning men and all this stuff, like what are men supposed to do and where are men supposed to go? And it's like, well, we see where they're going. They're going to these manosphere sites that really are doing a lot of damage. And I think, even that, those things are easier to absorb culturally right now, because, it's reinforcing, these masculine norms that people are familiar with. But I think, being able to really pull back, and the actual work needs to land on men. I think that the real tea of it is that a lot of times women and queer people, people of color, are often the ones that not only suffer from these things, but are also the people that are on the forefront to really change things. And I think people are waiting for women to, shake up things for the men in our culture right now. And I honestly, I don't think that's going to happen, which is good because I think it really tasks men with this responsibility. And it is our responsibility. I think it's our responsibility. No, no matter our sexual orientation. Like, I think as gay men, we have a responsibility to, you know, support somewhat. Again, like, I would think there would be a fine line of like us being at the forefront, and maybe some people would feel comfortable with that. And I think it's like a fine line to toe of like, are we going to be like tokenized up at the front, and then when and if there is change, is the credit going to go to the one or two straight men that didn't do a lot of the heavy lifting or wasn't on the front lines? But I think that's maybe getting too far ahead of like, I don't even know if we could get there. Um, because I think, as this quote also pointed out, like education as the years have gone by has become sissified and feminized, where it's like, do do men care enough? Would they care enough? Like, what would be their incentive to actually like change their own perception and then change the perceptions of those around them and in the culture? Um, but yeah, I think with the article overall, I wasn't surprised about this. I think I'm someone that experienced it myself. I think a lot of gay people around me experienced it. And so I was really taken by the article, and I'm someone that likes to read a lot of research articles as well. So I think I'll definitely be taking like a bigger dive into like the other research that was mentioned um, in the in the in in the article itself. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to do a quick little video about that. Um, Comment your thoughts, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.